Hello, my dear students. Welcome to Sankalp learning classes. Yes, today's topic. So that is the second chapter in biology, that is the human reproduction. You know that human beings, they reproduce sexually. So what is the meaning of sexual reproduction? So where the male and female gametes takes place, or formation takes place, and fusion of the male and female gametes takes place. So that is the sexual reproduction. Human beings reproduce through sexually. Okay. Yes. So, what you are going to study in this chapter? Gametogenesis. What is gametogenesis? Gametes. The formation of the gametes, that is sperms in males and ovum or ova in females. That is known as gametogenesis. Gametogenesis means formation of the gametes, both male and the female gametes. So, male gamete, that is the sperm, and the female gamete, that is the ova. Okay. Then insemination. So this is also a new word. Insemination means transfer of sperms into the female genital tract. The sperms that is produced in males, that is transferred to the female genital tract, that is the insemination. And fertilization. So you are familiar with this word fertilization, that is the fusion of the male and female gametes leading to the formation of the zygote. So that is the fertilization. Then implantation. What is implantation? Embedding the blastocyst into the uterine wall. The zygote, the fertilized zygote, so that will continue its division, the mitotic division occurs and it will become blastocyst. And that blastocyst, so that is attached, that will attach to the uterine wall, that is called as a implantation. Then gestation. So embryonic development or period from conception to birth. Then parturition, that is the process of childbirth. So that is commonly what we call delivery of the baby. That is the process of childbirth. That is the parturition. And the lactation, nourishment of the infant with the breast milk. So that is the lactation. The time period is called as lactation period. Okay. So these all things we are going to study in this chapter. Okay. Before going to study about the gametogenesis, we should study about the male and female reproductive system. Let us study about the male reproductive system. The male reproductive system, so it consists of pair of testes. So testes, they are paired in structure. So these are the testes. So but they are in pair. Testes are paired male gonads which produces the sperms and hormone. The testes, they are paired and they produce the sperms and hormone. Then accessory ducts. So here accessory ducts, here retitestes, vas efferentia, epididymis, vas deferens. So here vas deferens. So this is the vas deferens, and so retitestis is epididymis, and retitestis is present here only. So that we will see in the next diagram. And the vas deferens. So these all are the accessory ducts and accessory glands. What does the male reproductive system includes? That contains the paired testes, accessory ducts and accessory glands. So it includes accessory glands, includes the seminal vesicle. So this is the seminal vesicle, and prostate gland, and pairs of corpus gland or bulbourethral gland. Okay. So these are the accessory glands present in the male reproductive system, and the external genitalia, that is the penis. Penis is the external genitalia. So these all constitute the male reproductive system. So we have to study the functions of testes and accessory ducts and accessory glands. That is very important. Here, so these are the, so this diagram that is very important for your board exam. So here you can see the pair of testes. Testes are paired male gonads which produce the sperms and hormones. What is the function of the testes? So these are the male gonads which produce the sperms and hormones. And where it is located, which is located the abdominal cavity within the muscular pouch called scrotum. So just outside the abdominal cavity. Why it is located just outside the abdominal cavity? So that is in the scrotum, because the sperm formation, so that is required less temperature compared to our body temperature. Okay, 2 to 3 degree, 2 to 2.5 degree less compared to the our body. So here, because of that, the testes are located outside the abdominal cavity, so that is in the scrotum, so that has the less temperature so than our body temperature. Okay, that is the reason. And what is the dimension? It is about 4 to 5 centimeter in length and 2 to 3 centimeter in width. Then so if you see the structure of the anatomy of the testes, so if you see the testes, anatomy of the testes, so the tunica vaginalis, the testes encased in a dense fibrous capsule known as tunica vaginalis. So that is the outermost fibrous capsule, and tunica albuginea, white fibrous tissue inner to the tunica vaginalis. Okay, so white fibrous tissue. So here you can see the tunica albuginea. So this is the tunica albuginea. So if you see the anatomy of the testis, you can see this. And tunica albuginea that extends inside the testes and fibrous septate, and this septate divides the testes into 250, around 2 to 250 lobules called testicular lobules. So here you can see the testicular lobules. Okay, so around 250 testicular lobules are present. So that is formed by the tunica albuginea extend inside the testes. The tunica albuginea that is extend inside the testes and forms the testicular lobules. Okay, each testicular lobule, so if you say this is the testicular lobule, so that contains around 1 to 3 microscopic seminiferous tubules. Very important. So these are the seminiferous tubules that are present inside the testicular lobules. Okay, so around each testicular lobule that contains around 1 to 3, around 1 to 3 microscopic convoluted seminiferous tubules. Okay, so that is the structure of the male testes. Here, let us see the structure of seminiferous tubules. Okay, here seminiferous tubules, yes. So if you see the structure of seminiferous tubules, so yes, these are the seminiferous tubules. Okay, so these structure, so these are the seminiferous tubules. And here, so yes, just imagine this is the one seminiferous tubule. Okay, so here it consists of, it consists of two types of the cell. The seminiferous tubules, it consists of two types of the cells, namely spermatogenic or sperm producing cell, or and the Sertoli cells inside the uh, seminiferous tubule. So there are spermatogonial cells or spermatogonium you can say, and the Sertoli cells. Okay, so this is also structure of the seminiferous tubule. Here, what is the function of the Sertoli cells? Here you can see the, so these are the Sertoli cells. So these Sertoli cells to provide the nourishment to the developing spermatogenic cell. So which provide the nutrition for the developing spermatogenic cell. So that is the function of the Sertoli cells. Then the region between the seminiferous tubules contain the connective tissue with the small blood vessels and interstitial cells or the Leydig cells. So in between, so here in between the seminiferous tubule. So this is one seminiferous tubule and this is the another seminiferous tubule. So in between these seminiferous tubule, so there is a connective tissue and blood vessels are present, and also there is a one type of cells present that is called as a Leydig cells. Okay, inside the seminiferous tubule you can see the Sertoli cells, but here in the it is also called as interstitial cells. These Leydig cells, they are also called as interstitial cells. And what is the function of the Leydig cells? It secretes the male sex hormone that is called as the testosterone, which secrete the male hormone that is called as the testosterone. Okay, so that is the function of the Leydig cells. And what is the function of the Sertoli cells? That is also very important. Next thing, how the sperms are produced. So that is produced inside the seminiferous tubules. Okay, the sperms, they are going to produce inside the seminiferous tubule. Okay, so inside the seminiferous tubule, when the sperms are produced, so they have to move to the penis, right? Seminiferous tubules transport the sperms into the ready testes. Here, so just imagine this is the seminiferous tubules. So here there are seminiferous tubules, and inside the seminiferous tubules the sperms are produced, and these sperms are transported to the structure that is called as the reti testis. Okay, then so this is the reti testis. Reti testis that opens into the next structure that is called as the vasa efferentia. Reti testis, the sperms that is moving to next to the vasa efferentia, and next they reach the epididymis. Okay, so next the sperms reach the epididymis and store till the maturity. So this is the epididymis. So in this diagram you can understand this clearly. Okay. ಸೊ ಸೆಮಿನಿಫರಸ್ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸ್ಪರ್ಮ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸ್ಪರ್ಮ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ರೆಟಿ ಟೆಸ್ಟಿಸ್. ಅಂಡ್ ರೆಟಿ ಟೆಸ್ಟಿಸ್ ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಓಪನ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ವಾಸಾ ಎಫ್ರೆನ್ಶಿಯಾ. ವಾಸಾ ಎಫ್ರೆನ್ಶಿಯಾದಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಎಪಿಡಿಡಿಮಿಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಎಪಿಡಿಡಿಮಿಸ್, ಸೊ ದೇ in this the maturation of the sperm takes place. Then the mature sperms travel through the vas deferens. So the mature sperms that transfer, so here there is a connection through the vas deferens. So here through the vas deferens. So this is the vas deferens, and the sperms reach ejaculatory duct and receives the secretion from the male accessory glands. So it receives the some secretion from the accessory glands. Then that ejaculatory duct transport the sperm to the urethra, and urethra opens into the external opening penis. Okay, that is the urethral meatus. So just a minute, I will show the diagram. Yes, here the sperms are produced inside the testes, sorry, seminiferous tubules, and seminiferous tubules that opens. So all the seminiferous tubules that opens into the reti testes. So just imagine this is the reti testes, and reti testes to the vas efferens. Sorry, vasa efferentia. Then vasa efferentia that opens into the epididymis. So this is the epididymis, and from the epididymis the sperms transfer to the vas deferens. This is the vas deferens. Okay, so seminiferous tubule, seminiferous tubule, they produces the sperms. Then it move to the retitestis. Then retitestis opens into the vasa efferentia. Vasa efferentia. Then into the epididymis, where the maturation of the sperms takes place. Epididymis. So this is the epididymis. Then epididymis to the vas deferens. Vas deferens. So that moves, so that carry the sperm, and the sperms they receive the secretion of from the glands, from the prostate gland and bulbourethral gland to seminal vesicle. So these all glands they add the secretion to the sperms. Then it move into the ejaculatory duct, then into the urethra. So the sperms are moving into the urethra, then into the penis. So from the penis that will come out. Okay. So that is how the sperms are moving in the male reproductive system. So urethra opens into the external opening of the penis, that is the urethral meatus. So this is how the sperms move from seminiferous tubules to the external male external genitalia. So then penis. What is penis? It is a cylindrical, erectile and muscular copulatory organ which forms the external genitalia. That is the male external genital organ, and it is composed of three cylindrical masses of the tissues. The tissues contain the blood sinuses and are bound together by the fibrous tissue. And they help in the erection of the penis and facilitate the insemination. What is insemination? Transfer of the male gamete sperms to the female genital area. So that is the insemination, right? The enlarged diatal end of the penis, that is called as glans penis, and it is covered with the loose fitting skin called, that is the foreskin. So you can see the penis, structure of penis here. Yes. So this enlarged part that is called as glans penis, and which is covered by a foreskin. Okay. Yes, that is the male reproductive system. Okay. So the testis, they are made up of the testicular lobules, and the testicular lobules, they contain the 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules, and the seminiferous tubules, they produces the sperms, and how the sperms are moving. So that you should know. And what is the function of the male accessory glands? So we have seen the functions of the accessory duct. So male accessory duct, that is retitestis, or vas deferens, vasa efferentia, then epididymis. These all are the accessory ducts. And what is the function of the accessory glands? So you have seen the accessory glands, that is seminal vesicles, prostate glands, and the corpus glands or bulbourethral glands. So these are the male accessory glands. So what is the function of the seminal vesicle? So it secretes the alkaline secretion containing the fructose, then ascorbic acid forms the major part of the semen. So this seminal vesicles, so that is also type of the male accessory gland. So that adds the secretion to the sperm. Then what is the function of the prostate gland? It secretes the thin milky fluid which helps in the sperm motility and maintain the its health. So that is help. So these all secretions, they provide the nutrition and also increase the lubrication. Okay, it secretes the bulbourethral gland or the corpus gland. It secretes the fluid that lubricates the passage of the sperms. So these all together, so they are forming the semen. Okay, then what is semen? It is a mixture of spermatozoa, means sperms, and the seminal plasma. So here it is ejected by the penis during the sexual act. A single ejaculate may contain 200 to 300 million sperms. It is slightly alkaline for the protection of sperms from the acidity of the vagina. Here, the secretion of all the accessory glands constitute the seminal plasma, which is rich in fructose, calcium, and certain enzymes. Very important for your exam. So, the semen, so that contain the sperms and the seminal plasma. What is seminal plasma? So, that is secreted by the male accessory glands from the which is secreted by the male accessory gland. So, which is this seminal plasma, that seminal plasma is rich in fructose, calcium, and the certain enzymes. So very important for your exam. Then the female reproductive system. So now we have studied about the male reproductive structures as well as how the sperms are produced, right? So how the sperms are produced inside the male reproductive system, that we have studied. Let us study about the female reproductive system. So here female reproductive system consists of pair of ovaries. So these are the pair of ovaries and pair of fallopian tube. So this is the fallopian tube. So this structure, this is called as oviduct or the fallopian tube. It is called as oviduct or the fallopian tube. And uterus, and this is the triangular shape uterus. Then vagina, so this is the vagina. Then the accessory cervix, so this is the cervix, and accessory genital glands and the external genitalia. So these all constitute the female reproductive system. So ovary and pair of oviduct or fallopian tube, uterus, and the cervix and the vagina. Okay. Then the mammary glands are also considered as a part of reproductive system because their role is nourishing the offspring. Okay, mammary glands also considered as a part of the female reproductive system. And these parts of female reproductive system are structurally and functionally adapted for the ovulation, fertilization, pregnancy, and parturition and the lactation. So these all process, that is the ovulation and the fertilization also takes place in the female body, and pregnancy, parturition, and the lactation. So these all things that takes place in the female reproductive structure. Here, so let us see the structure of the ovary. Here, these are almond-shaped female sex organs located either side of the vertebral column. You can see the structure of the ovary, and the ovaries, so that is site of production of eggs or ova, and the ovarian hormones. Ovary produces the, so mainly we are studying about the ovary. Ovary produces the ova or the egg, and also estrogen and the progesterone. Each ovary is about 2 to 4 centimeter long and the 3 centimeter wide. So that is the dimension of the ovary, and they are attached to abdominal wall and the uterus by ovarian ligaments. So here you can see how the ovary is attached here. Yes. Here ovary is attached to the uterus and the oviduct through the ovarian ligament. So by the connective tissue. And the broad ligament of the uterus attaches to the ovary by double fold of the peritoneum called mesovarium. Then if you see the structure of the ovary, so this is ovary, right? So layers of the ovary. So germinal epithelium, that is the ovaries are lined up by a thin layer of the cells that is called as the germinal epithelium. So this is the outer layer, that is the germinal epithelium. This blue color structure, that is the germinal epithelium. And below the germinal epithelium, fibrous tunica albuginea, which encloses the ovarian stoma. So Next to that, tunica albuginea layer is there. So we can divide the ovary into two parts, that is cortex and medulla. So inner cavity. So this region that is called as a stroma. So this region, so that is called as the stoma. And the stoma is differentiated into two parts. That is inner medulla. Inner layer is called as medulla and outer is the cortex. Okay. So here outermost layer, that is germinal epithelium layer, and the inner cavity, so inner layer, that is called as a stoma. This is called as a stoma, and stoma is divided into two parts, inner part that is medulla and outer part that is the cortex. Here, so if you see the structure of the ovary, internal structure of the ovary means what is there inside the ovary. The ovarian cortex consists of ovarian follicles surrounded by dense irregular connective tissue. So here the developing follicles are present in the cortex region. ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು ಕಾರ್ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತದ್ದು ಕಾರ್ಟೆಕ್ಸ್, ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು ಮೆಡುಲ್ಲಾ ಅಲ್ವಾ? The cortex region consists of ovarian follicles surrounded by a dense irregular connective tissue, and the ovarian medulla is deep to the ovarian cortex and contains the lymphatic vessels, blood vessels and the nerves. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, lymphatic vessels ಇರಬಹುದು, blood vessels ಇರಬಹುದು. So that is present in the medulla region. Ovarian follicles are in the cortex region consist of oocytes, various stages of development. So ovarian cortex ಯಾವ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನೋಡೋಣ. Here the ovarian follicles. So inside the ovary, in the cortex region. So cortex regionally, so here you can see ovarian follicles. Okay. So where the oocyte is present. So ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗತ್ತೆ, ಇದ್ರ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಓವಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓವಮ್ ಏನಾಗತ್ತೆ, ಸೊ ಮೆಚುರೇಷನ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ, ಫಾಲಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಮೆಚುರೇಷನ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಸಿ ದ follicle cells, when oocyte is covered by single layer of the cells, that is called as a follicular cells. Here primary follicular cells, this is the oocyte, and oocyte is surrounded by single layer of cells. So that is the primary follicle. Then granulosa cells, when the oocyte is covered by several layer of cells. So here you can see 2 to 3 layer of cells. So that is covered, that is present around the oocyte alva. So that is the granulosa cell. And Graafian follicle, very important structure, that is the Graafian follicle. So ovary ಒಳಗಡೆ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತ follicles ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, that is in the cortex region. So that time explaining. Graafian follicle ನೋಡಿ, so mature follicle, that is the mature Graafian follicle, so which is having the fluid filled follicle that is ready to rupture and expel the secondary oocyte. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇಷ್ಟು ಮೆಚುರೇಷನ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಈ oocyte ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ರಪ್ಚರ್ ಆಗಿ ಸೊ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. that is nothing but the oocyte or ovum, ova, or you can call it as a egg. So like this, the developing follicles are present in the cortex region. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ oocyte ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, follicle cells ಇಂದ ಕವರ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ ಮೆಚುರೇಷನ್, ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ ಮೆಚೂರ್ ಗ್ರಾಫಿಯನ್ ಪಾಲಿಕಲ್, ದ ರಪ್ಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಗ್ರಾಫಿಯನ್ ಪಾಲಿಕಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಓವಮ್ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್. ಓವಮ್ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಆರ್ oocyte ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂಡ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು. And when the Graafian follicle ruptures, ovum is released. Ovum release agide alva. The remaining of that Graafian follicle, that is called as the corpus luteum anta karitare. So that is nothing but the corpus luteum. Yes, here you can see the, so this is the medulla region, and in the cortex region you can see the developing follicles alva. So primordial follicle means already more than millions of follicles are present, but the one follicle that will start developing, that is primary follicle. You can see the oocyte here, and only single layer of the granulosa cells, follicle cells are present. Then these are the developing follicles, alva. So next it will become mature follicle, that is Graafian follicle agatte. So Graafian follicle that contains the cavity and the ovum, developed ovum. And when the Graafian follicle rupture, ಇದೇನು rupture ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಸೊ ನೋಡಿ ovum is released, ovum release ಆಗಿದೆ, ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? And the remaining of this Graafian follicle, that is called as the corpus luteum, and the corpus luteum that will become corpus albicans. Okay, so like this the development of the follicles and release of the ovum takes place inside the ovary. Ovary structure ಯಾವ ತರ ಇದೆ, and ovary ಒಳಗಡೆ follicles development ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ. And this is the structure of mature Graafian follicle, and this is the oocyte, and these are the granulosa cells, and theca interna, and this is the theca externa, and this is the corona radiata. So this diagram is very important for your board exam, this Graafian follicle. Here the female accessory ducts. So the female reproductive system is composed of the reproductive organs and the accessory ducts and glands, same as the male reproductive system. But the oviduct, uterus and vagina are the accessory ducts which involved in the process of reproduction. So these are the accessory ducts. And oviduct, which is the site of the fertilization. Oviductal enagatte, fertilization agatte. Here the female external genitalia, the vulva is the global term that describes the structure of, that makes the female external genitalia. So the female external genitalia that you can see here, so this is the female external genitalia here. So it is called as vulva, and it consists of Mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, clitoris and vesicular bulbs, vulva, vestibule, Bartholin's glands and skin glands, and urethra and the vaginal opening. Here you can see the labia majora. So this outermost layer, that is the labia majora, and this is the labia minora, and this opening, that is the vaginal opening, and thin layer that covered the vaginal opening, that is called as a hymen, and this layer, so that is called as a clitoris, and this region that is called as the Mons pubis, that is the female external genitalia. Yes, already we studied that oviducts and the uterus, vagina constitute the female accessory ducts. Very important, uterus, vagina and the oviduct or the fallopian tube. So the fallopian tube, what are the parts of the fallopian tube? The part which is closer to the ovary, funnel shaped structure, that is the infundibulum. So here if you draw the diagram, okay, so just imagine here. So this part which is near to the ovary, that is infundibulum, and the finger shaped structure what you observe, that is called as fimbriae, which helps in the collection of the ovum during the ovulation. And the infundibulum leads to the wider part of the fallopian tube, that is the ampulla, and the last part of the oviduct, that is the isthmus. So that is the isthmus. The last part of the oviduct, isthmus, has narrow lumen and it joins the uterus. And uterus or the womb. What is the structure of the uterus? So that is also called as womb. And mainly The uterus that is made up of three wall layers. So that is perimetrium, myometrium and the endometrium. The uterus. So this is the uterus, right? This region. This is the uterus, and the wall of the uterus has three layers of tissue. Perimetrium, that is the external thin membranous layer, and the myometrium, it is the middle thick layer of the smooth muscle, that is the middle layer, and the endometrium, it is the inner glandular layer that lines up the uterine cavity. So here three wall layers very important, and the endometrium undergoes the cyclical changes during the menstrual cycle. So the endometrium that breaks down and that comes out in the form of mucus and the blood, that is the cyclical changes occur during the menstrual cycle. So that is the endometrium that undergo changes. The myometrium exhibits the strong contraction during the delivery of the baby. Myometrium that helps in the delivery of the baby, that execute the strong contraction of the uterus. So that is the structure of the uterus, and wall layers and these are very important. Next question. Accessory glands. Accessory reproductive glands of female include the Bartholin's gland and Skin's gland and the mammary glands. So here these two glands, so that is greater vestibular glands and two glands located at the left and right opening of the vagina. It lubricates the vagina and it is homologous and bulbourethral glands of the male reproductive system. So that is similar to the bulbourethral gland. And the Skin's gland, that is lesser vestibular glands, are located on the anterior wall of the vagina. It is homologous to the prostate gland of the male reproductive system. And mammary glands are paired structure, contain glandular tissue, and glandular tissue contain the alveoli which secrete the milk. So let us study about the mammary gland. So here the mammary glands, they are just a minute. Yes. So the mammary glands are the paired structures. So that is nothing but the breast, contain glandular tissue and variable amount of the fat. The glandular tissue of each breast is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes. So here you can see the mammary lobes. So here, so these are the mammary lobes. And contain in the cluster of cells called alveoli, and the mammary lobes that leads to the alveoli. The cells of the alveoli secrete the milk which is stored in the cavities of the alveoli. So this alveoli that store the milk, the alveoli open into mammary tubules. The tubules of each lobe join to form a mammary duct. So this alveoli that joins to form the mammary duct, and that leads to the ampulla. Okay, and ampulla which is connected to the lacticiferous duct through the which is milked sucked out. ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ diagram ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ampulla. So that forms the lacticiferous duct, and this lacticiferous duct, through that the milk is sucked outside. So that is the structure of the mammary gland. So before the fertilization, pre-fertilization events, already we have studied in the we have studied in the sexual reproduction plants. So here also the pre-fertilization events means the production of the gametes. So that is the gametogenesis, the process of formation of the haploid gametes from the diploid germ cells by meiosis in the gonads is called as a gametogenesis. That is the process of formation of the haploid gametes from the diploid germ cells. Here, the gametogenesis that involves the spermatogenesis and the oogenesis. Spermatogenesis means the production of the sperms, and the oogenesis, that is the process of formation of the ovum or ova, that is the oogenesis. Let us study about the spermatogenesis. The process of what is spermatogenesis? The process of formation of haploid sperms from the diploid spermatogonia by meiosis in the testes is called as a spermatogenesis. That is the definition. The structural and functional units of the testes in which spermatogenesis takes place, that is called as the seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules are the structural and functional units of the testes. Already we know what is there inside the seminiferous tubules, right? So we know that seminiferous tubules that contains the spermatogonial cells, Sertoli cells, and the Leydig cells. So these all things we know. So now we should know about the spermatogenesis, how the spermatogenesis takes place. So each seminiferous tubule that is lines up by a germinal epithelium made up of the two types of the cells, primordial cells and the nerve cells or the Sertoli cells. So the primordial cells or the Sertoli cells. Here the spermatogenesis, so that involves the three important steps, that is multiplication phase, growth phase and the maturation phase. Okay. Here the primordial cells or the spermatogonial cells or spermatogonium. So this is the spermatogonial cell. So that will undergo the mitosis cell division and it increase its number. Okay. So this is spermatogonial cell that is diploid in number and it increases its number by mitosis. Okay. And one of the spermatogonial cell, so that will become primary spermatocyte. One of the spermatogonial cell that will become primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte. And this primary spermatocyte, that is the first phase is the multiplication phase. Okay. Multiplication phase means spermatogonium or spermatogonial cells, they will undergo the multiplication and increase their number. And one of the spermatogonial cell, so the spermatogonial cell that will undergo the maturation, that is called as primary spermatocyte. And the primary spermatocyte, and this is the primary spermatocyte, so that will undergo the meiosis cell division. Meiosis. So when it undergo the meiosis cell division, the first meiosis 1, so it forms the two cells, so that is called as the secondary spermatocyte. So first meiosis, which forms the secondary spermatocytes. What is the total number of chromosomes in the secondary spermatocytes? That is 23. Okay, and it completes the meiosis by forming the 4 cells. Second meiosis, meiosis 2 is also completed, and spermato here, so they forms the sperms. Okay, spermatozoa here. By the diagram also you can understand this process.
Sperm develop in the seminiferous tubules of the testes. Primordial sperm cells, called spermatogonia, lie dormant in the outer compartment of the tubules from the late fetal period until puberty. At puberty, the spermatogonia undergo mitotic divisions, giving rise to genetically identical cells. The cells grow gradually into primary spermatocytes, preparing
Primary
to divide into
spermatocytes.
cells half their size. Each of these primary spermatocytes undergoes a first meiotic division, forming two smaller haploid cells known as secondary spermatocytes. These secondary spermatocytes divide once more, giving rise to four haploid cells called spermatids, containing exactly half of the father's genetic material. Through a process known as spermiogenesis, the spermatids change shape, transforming into mature sperm cells. The spermatid's nucleus condenses, the acrosome appears, and the tail begins to grow. Much of the cytoplasm is shed. As spermiogenesis completes,
Yes, here the first step is the primordial cells or the spermatogonial cells. Okay, so these are the spermatogonial cells. So that is diploid in condition. It increases its number by the mitosis. You know the mitosis. Here in mitosis, the number of cells increases, right? So here one of the spermatogonial cell, so that will become mature and become primary spermatocyte here. So this one become mature and that is the growth phase, and it will become primary spermatocyte. Okay, so this primary spermatocyte that will undergo the meiosis 1. So it forms the two cells, and these two cells are called secondary spermatocytes. And the secondary spermatocytes, they undergo the meiosis 2 and forms the spermatids. Okay, so this spermatids means they are round in structure, and these spermatids, they undergo the structural changes and become spermatozoa. Okay, so totally this phase is called as the maturation phase. So this process that is called as the spermatogenesis. Here the primordial cells, they are also diploid, and this spermatogonia, that is also diploid cell, and this primary spermatocytes, that is also diploid, means 46 chromosomes are there, but the secondary spermatocytes, they are haploid, means only 23 chromosomes are there. So secondary spermatocytes are, so they are haploid, and spermatids and spermatozoa, that is sperm, that is also haploid.
the sperm cell
Here, the spermatogenesis process, so that is controlled by the hormone. So here, hypothalamus, just a minute, hypothalamus, so that secretes the hormone that is called as gonadotropin releasing hormone, GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone, hypothalamus. Okay, so this GnRH that stimulate the anterior pituitary. This stimulate the anterior pituitary, and this pituitary gland, you know that pituitary gland that releases the luteinizing hormone, that is LH, and the follicle stimulating hormone, that is FSH. And this luteinizing hormone that act on the interstitial cells or the Leydig cells. Luteinizing hormone that act on the interstitial cells or the Leydig cells that produces the testosterone hormone, and follicle stimulating hormone that act on the Sertoli cells. Okay, so that act on the Sertoli cells and that enhance the spermatogenic cells ability to bind the testosterone and stimulating the spermatogenesis process. And inhibin that is released in amounts of proportional to the sperm count. High sperm count means high inhibin, low sperm count means low inhibin. Okay, so here It is explained through the diagram. Hypothalamus that releases the gonadotropin releasing hormone and that stimulate the pituitary, anterior pituitary, and the pituitary that is releasing the hormone FSH and the LH. LH act on the Leydig cells that produces the testosterone, and FSH that act on the Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells that control the spermatogenesis. And it also a secretion factor for the spermiogenesis. Okay, so this is the spermatogenesis and the hormones. So let us see the structure of the sperm. So very important, the ultrastructure of the sperm. Ultrastructure of the sperm consists of head, neck and the middle piece. So this is the head and neck. So this is the neck region and this is the middle piece and the tail region. Okay, head, neck, middle piece and the tail. So it consists of the sperm head contain the elongated haploid nucleus. Nucleus is present in the head region, and above the nucleus cap-like structure, that is the acrosome. Here you can see the cap-like structure, that is the acrosome. So this acrosome that contains the enzyme which help in the fertilization with the ovum. So this acrosome, this structure that is called as acrosome that contains the enzymes, and these enzymes that help for the fertilization process. Human male ejaculates 200 to 300 million sperms during the coitus. Okay, just imagine 200 to 300 million during the coitus, and 60% must have normal shape and the size. 40% of them must show the vigorous motility. Sperm released from the seminiferous tubules enter into the accessory ducts. On their way to fluid form the seminal vesicle and the prostate gland added to, which is collectively called as the semen. Okay, so inside the semen, so there are the sperms are present, and on their way to fluids from the seminal vesicles and the prostate gland added, which is collectively called as the semen. So the prostate gland and the seminal vesicle, they add their secretion that help for the motility and that also help for the provide the nutrition for the sperms. The function of the male accessory ducts and glands are maintained by the testicular hormone that is called as the androgen. Yes, so this is the process of the spermatogenesis. Okay, spermatogenesis and the structure of the sperm. Okay, so in the next class, we are going to study about the oogenesis. So oogenesis and how the oogenesis takes place and the menstrual cycle, etc. Okay, so I hope these all important topics are very important for your CET as well as your board exam. Okay. Yes. Thank you, dear students. We'll continue in the next class.